All aboard! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, football fans of all ages, and I am Beast Mike here. Now arrived at my train of thought. It's time to talk about the power rankings, and it's Thanksgiving week. So happy Thanksgiving to everyone who is listening and who watches these videos, and everyone in general, to be honest. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Also, is John Madden's Thanksgiving celebrations, as the NFL has done a great job honoring the legendary coach and broadcaster and the creator of the video games, as we know, one of the founding fathers of the football video games, if you will, with John Madden. I love the patches. I love the turducken stuff. I need to try a turducken. I need to find where I can get to a turducken. I want to try one. I really do. It sounds like it would taste awesome. And of course, for college football, rivalry week. It's the last week of the regular season and the next to last week of college ball, with a lot of it before we get to Championship Saturday and the college football playoff, which will start in December. And we're going to start in Kentucky, Louisville in Kentucky, the Fulton, Kentucky Zombie Tier. And Fulton is 3 hours and 41 minutes. These estimates are by car, from Louisville. And this is where the Governor's Cup will be played this season. So Kentucky and Louisville are going to play for the Governor's Cup in 3 hours plus away from Fulton. Let's get to the Zombies here. Tennessee, Beer Barrel Trophy. No, this is not a trophy that the Titans are going to win, because they're not winning any of those this year. Instead, this is about Vanderbilt versus Tennessee, and a game between two very good teams, as they're going to be playing this season in Vandy. Big game, big stage for both these teams. It's unlikely that they make the playoff for both of them, because either need to win the SEC, but it's still a monster game all the same for both these two schools. For the Titans, Kenworth looked respectable, at the very least. He didn't look anywhere near as bad. And to be honest, they kind of lost because Sam Darnold and JSN went off. They didn't look overly awful. They just lost to a better team. No shame in that for the Titans. New York Giants, Jameis or Jackson? To be honest, Jameis Winston was not the reason why they lost last week. As we all know, Shane Bowen got fired, which may be a win for Giants fans, and probably is if you ask a lot of them. And when it comes to Jameis or Jackson Dart, obviously Dart's the future. And if Dart plays on Monday night, if he's healthy enough to, that would be fine. If he doesn't, then you get Jameis Winston on a Monday night stage again, which we know could be fine, also more chaotic. Probably all three at different points. Jameis Winston was fun to watch on Sunday in Detroit. It just couldn't win because their defense was awful to watch outside of their front four, as we all know this. Anyway, either quarterback that'll play will at least make the rest of the season for the Giants somewhat entertaining. There may not be too many wins, but at least be kind of sort of entertaining to watch. New Orleans, spoiling Sooner season. Oklahoma is in line for the playoff, and in their way, the last team in it is a pretty good LSU team. Not great by any means, obviously. There's a reason for that. Brian Kelly's fired. But at least an LSU team that's at least a decent squad. And if Oklahoma were to win this last game, that's effectively the last hurdle for the college football playoff. They're probably not making the SEC championship. No. We're fresh out of that. But they'll at the very least make the playoff. As for the Saints, they just made way too many mistakes on Sunday against Atlanta. Just field goals were missed. They left points on the field. Their offense could get nothing done. It was just a lot of mistakes were made in this game. But to be fair, the Saints are very good, and we all knew this. It's just a matter of time before the Saints are officially eliminated from the playoffs. Will that happen this week? We will see. Cincinnati, will Burrow return? It feels like he's going to. It feels like he will get Jamar Chase back as well, who was suspended last week. We'll see if T. Higgins is able to play tomorrow night after the concussion he suffered on Sunday. But Cincinnati's offense can get back to whole with getting Burrow and Jamar back. Unfortunately for them, Baltimore is far different from what they were a month ago. That may not be great. But at least if Burrow and Chase return, well, Chase is going to, but at least if Burrow returns, you get Burrow versus Lamar on Thanksgiving. Considering the last two matchups they had against each other last year, both wins by Baltimore, but both incredibly entertaining, let's go. Let's see it happen. Hopefully T. Higgins is able to play, because we're going to get a lot of points from both these teams if he does. Las Vegas. Is Geno okay? I'm asking this because that offensive line was no match for the Browns' really good defense, and it showed. A 10-piece combo, 10 sacks. Myles Garrett had a hat trick, That's his third or fourth game this year where he's had 3 sacks. It's absolutely gross what he is doing. We'll get to Garrett in a little bit, but that was a beating that Geno Smith suffered. And sure, they could go to Kenny Pickett, but is it any better than having Geno Smith as your quarterback right now? I don't know. Really don't know. New York Jets, big Rutgers game. Yes, we know the Jets are terrible. We know it doesn't matter who their quarterback is. It's not great. They still make way too many mistakes, way too many penalties. Breece Hall's fumble inside the Ravens 5 was absolutely devastating and effectively ended that game. Understood. We got it. But this is about Rutgers. I can't believe I said this, but this monster game for the Scarlet Knights, the biggest game I think Rutgers has had in years, is against Penn State on Saturday, a school that they have wanted to get the attention of and wanted to deem as a rival to them. Penn State never does. I would know I'm an alum. And they consider this the biggest game, their biggest op every single year, football-wise. This is a game where both teams win, they are bowl eligible. They lose, they deny that team from being bowl eligible. High stakes, high pressure in Piscataway. Monster game, biggest home game, like I said, for Rutgers in a long time. They don't usually win these games. How do I know this? I was 6 days old, not years, days old, when Rutgers last beat Penn State. Think about that for a second. But it's a monster game between Rutgers and Penn State on Saturday afternoon in Piscataway. Arizona, the Territorial Cup. These are two good teams. Arizona versus Arizona State are going to play each other at ASU for the Territorial Cup. And though it's pretty much a done deal when it comes to making the Big 12 championship, both teams are very good, and both teams are going to have respectable bowls. So I'm looking forward to seeing this game because I really do think both these squads can ball. This is going to be a fun one in the desert. Also, with the Cardinals, yes, their season's pretty dead. Jacoby Brissett continues to pile up stats, which I guess is a fine thing to do. But how do they not win this game with all the turnovers that they forced against Trevor Lawrence? I have no idea. That's really bad for the Cardinals. And Cleveland, Shedor's big chance. We get to see what Shedeur is like now that there's some play on him, there's some tape on him, and we get to see what he's like against an actual real team. Yes, I know they played the Raiders last week, but we all know the Raiders aren't very good. What we do know is that the Niners are decent, and the Niners are playoff caliber. And now we get to see what Shedeur can do against a playoff caliber team in San Francisco. Yes, they do come to Cleveland. Okay, fine. But we get to see what Shedeur can do against a capable, competent defense. The Niners are at least one of those. Can Shedeur play well against that particular team? We will see. And can Myles Garrett continue his assault on the sack record? He's only 4 away, and it feels like he's going to get there in due time. He may get there before Christmas. I almost expect him to with this. He may get there, actually, before Ramadan at this point. I almost expect him to. That's the first game of games of interest, Browns and Niners, and it's obviously here because of Shedeur, and it's obviously here because the Niners still have a real shot at making the playoffs. And they're going to have to keep winning because the NFC North is going to beat each other up. Seattle and LA are still there. The Eagles are still in play, obviously. It's a lot to go through here with San Francisco. They need this game badly. And with Christian McCaffrey continuing his quest to try to get the MVP, it's on the board that we have the MVP and the Defensive Player of the Year playing against each other in Cleveland on Sunday. Let's see what happens. Cardinals, Bucks, the next game here. And I put this here because of Baker Mayfield. Will Baker play? If he doesn't, it's kind of a fair fight, I would argue, quarterback-wise. And unfortunately for Tampa Bay, that offense went nowhere fast against LA, even with Baker Mayfield on the field. It didn't matter. It may not matter here because Arizona's defense hasn't been any good recently, but Teddy Bridgewater, will he be ready to go, and will it be showtime for him if Baker does not play? Jacoby Brissett has shown himself to be at least capable of putting up yards and some points. The real question will be whether they can put up enough points to deal with Tampa Bay, Baker, or not. Big game in Tampa Bay for both these teams, as for Tampa, needs to keep Carolina off their backs. They do play Carolina coming up soon. We're going to go to the Birmingham, Alabama Monkey's Paw tier, fork in the road tier, if you will. And this is 2 hours from the Iron Bowl. They're going to be playing in Auburn this year. Auburn's not very good, but scrappy. Alabama is destined for the playoff as long as they keep winning. If Alabama is able to, then they're going to go to the playoff. They're fine. If they're not, the question will be this: what happens to Kalen DeBoer? So that's a big game for Alabama for several reasons, as they play the biggest game of their season in Auburn. And Auburn would love nothing more than to spoil Alabama's chances at the playoff and pretty much end Kalen DeBoer's time, because I would like to think that may be the end of Kalen DeBoer in Tuscaloosa, because somebody, Penn State or Florida, may go after him, or LSU for that matter, may go after him with a lot of money. Let's get to the tier. Washington, playoff spoilers tour. I say this because 4 of Washington's 6 games left are against teams that are absolutely playoff contenders. Their next one coming up with Denver. They have 2 with the Eagles, and they also have 1 more with the Cowboys. Washington could win. If Washington wins any of these games, then they will do some damage in either playoff. And we'll see if Jaden Daniels can come back for any of these games. If so, they may have a shot at winning any of them. If not, they don't, and this won't be fun for the Commanders at all as we get towards the end of their season. Minnesota, defending the Axe. They won the Axe Trophy last year, the Golden Gophers did, in Madison, and now Wisconsin's going to be coming to their crib this week. And it's a monster game for an underrated trophy game, I would say. An underrated rivalry game between Minnesota versus Wisconsin. I actually do like this one. I like it a lot. I love the passion and the reverence that it has. And the Axe is a very sweet trophy, with one side being Minnesota colors, the other side being Wisconsin colors. Can Minnesota defend the Axe? And can the Vikings do anything at all on offense? That means you, JJ McCarthy. You've been pretty terrible since you've dubbed yourself number 9, as you've thrown now 10 innos. It's not great. It's not looking good for you. It's really not. Atlanta, the Governor's Cup. Now, this game between Georgia Tech and Georgia is still a big one in Atlanta, because Georgia Tech is obviously trying to break through and beat the Bulldogs finally. They should have did it last year, and they're trying to break through and beat them finally. Yet, this time, it doesn't carry the weight that it should, because last week Georgia Tech lost to Pitt, and because of this loss, their road to the ACC championship is pretty much a dead end. It's pretty much not happening. It sucks because they were looking like a playoff team. And for a lot of this season, they look like a playoff team. They just lost a devastating game to a Pitt team that's pretty good. And for Georgia, they have looked like a playoff team pretty much the entire year. Sure, they lost to Alabama. Okay, that happens. But Georgia's looked really good otherwise. They destroyed Texas recently and have generally looked like a really good team for a lot of this season, because of their defense getting it done when it had to get it done. Georgia's got a real shot at the SEC championship and winning that title once again, and they could run into another Texas team in the form of A&M upon getting there. Big game for both these teams. For the Falcons, they at least beat New Orleans, which is a rivalry game in itself, and one of which I think they will gladly take. I think they'll be perfectly okay with that. Carolina, the Palmetto Bowl. Clemson versus South Carolina. Who would have thought that this time a year ago that it would be Clemson having the better record? Who would have thought this time a year ago that South Carolina's season would be lost and Lenore Sellers wouldn't be as good as we all thought he would be? And as it turns out, that's the case. Clemson has been better by record this year, and in part because South Carolina's schedule is absolutely stupid. And they're playing in a far better conference, South Carolina is, compared to Clemson. Understood. But yeah, that's really been a lot of the story here. If they swap conferences, maybe South Carolina's 9-2 or something like that. Maybe Clemson's 4-7 or 3-8 or something. Maybe. But that's where we are right now. And that's where these two teams are going to battle each other. As we've seen over the years, the record has literally not mattered, as both teams are very well capable of winning on the road. This time, it's Clemson on the road going to South Carolina and facing the Gamecocks in their building. Can Lenore Sellers go out with a bang if he were to go out? If he were to effectively end it here and go to the NFL? We will see. Also, when it comes to the Panthers, that was a really ugly loss on Monday to get all his turnovers from Bryce Young and help out Bryce Young, only for Bryce Young to turn it over almost as many times. It was a really, really ugly performance by the Panthers on Monday. But they're only a half game out in the NFC South, and they still play Tampa twice. There's still hope here. Just don't squander these opportunities. Miami, CFPB. The Hurricanes actually might have one. And they might have one because, wait a minute, they beat Notre Dame, and yet Notre Dame is ranked higher. Yes, Miami has 2 losses. Miami's other loss being SMU, and in Miami's losses are SMU and Louisville. Louisville being an okay team, SMU being a pretty solid team that's pretty much dead set going on to the ACC championship. Miami could see them again if they get the right help. We're looking at you, Virginia Tech, but Miami's got an actual beef, I would argue, with Notre Dame because Miami beat Notre Dame. In theory, they should be ranked higher than the Irish. Yes, the Irish passed the smell test, where Miami probably doesn't. But Miami and Notre Dame played each other on the field. Miami won the game. That should carry some reverence. Apparently it doesn't. Now, this may be a moot point if Miami loses to Pitt on Saturday in Pittsburgh, but Miami probably, as of now, probably should be ranked higher than the Irish. They one head up. As for the Dolphins, their playoff push effectively started a couple weeks ago, and for them to do anything playoff-wise or have any hope, they're going to have to keep winning and keep winning and keep winning. Facing and beating the Saints on Sunday will be the next step in this quest for the Dolphins. Pittsburgh, speaking of which, can win ACC. Yeah, maybe Pat Narduzzi was right that the Notre Dame game didn't matter as much as the Georgia Tech game or the conference games. Maybe Pat Narduzzi was right. They were beating Notre Dame whether that game was their Super Bowl or not. That wasn't going to happen for them either way, but they went and beat Georgia Tech on the road in a very impressive performance. And now Pitt's got a real shot to win the ACC. Both Pitt and Miami need to win this game. And if they do, then they're going to need the Hokies to do their part. If they don't, the Hokies, then Virginia goes to the ACC championship, and they'll probably play SMU, who should crush California without much of a fight. As for the Steelers, it's not great that Baltimore tracked them down with Pittsburgh's schedule being so mid and Lamar Jackson being out. It's not a great look at all. It's not a great look. It's simply not. And now Aaron Rodgers is hurt. We'll see if Rodgers comes back and is able to play this week and get ready because Baltimore's coming. And Baltimore and the Steelers will play twice down the stretch. Jacksonville, the Michaela Trophy. Yes, Jacksonville survived a game where Trevor Lawrence was absolutely awful. That's impressive on their part. I didn't expect it. I didn't see it coming, yet they did it. Good job on the Jaguars' part. But this is about Florida State versus Florida, and about 2 teams who have been, let's face it, bad this year. And for some reason, Mike Norvell is staying in Tallahassee. I don't know why they would do such a thing. That seems like a terrible idea, but they're going to do it. They're going to keep him, and they're going to keep moving forward. Oh, how different it's been over the last 2 years for the Seminoles compared to what they were, where the Seminoles got robbed of a playoff spot in 2023, and they have literally not recovered from this. They have an Alabama win, which absolutely a fluke, and yet that's really their only claim to fame over the last 2 years. Florida, meanwhile, has done really nothing to advance or move forward or anything of note. Yes, they fired Billy Napier, as they should have, but they've done literally nothing to move forward otherwise. They have a quarterback in DJ Lagway, who we like, okay, Lagway's got talent, but against real teams, he doesn't really show it. So what are you? What is going to happen here? Neither team's really doing anything productive, so I guess we'll see whose pride is better. I guess that's where we're going with here. I guess somebody will take it. And Dallas. Mustangs, Longhorns, Aggies. 3 teams, 2 monster games that are going to go down on one big weekend. And for 3 straight days, these 4 teams, including the Cowboys, are going to have these monster games. Tomorrow, obviously, Cowboys-Chiefs. We'll get to that. We got the Longhorns and the Aggies playing each other in Austin on Friday. It will be a monster game for the Aggies. The Longhorns are effectively dead in terms of the playoff chances and playoff hopes and all that good stuff. SMU could get back to the ACC championship game for the 2nd straight year and back into the college football playoff for the 2nd straight year, as long as they take care of the business. And they win these next 2 games, they will earn their way back into the college football playoff. Good work on the Mustangs' part. And them beating the Hurricanes is a good look on their part, the way they did it, even though Carson Beck was an abject disaster in said game. I'll get to the Cowboys later, because obviously I'll be talking about their game with the Chiefs in the games of interest portion of this video. Speaking of games of interest, let's get to them in this tier. Vikings, Seahawks, Sam Darnold's revenge game, if you will, as he plays his most recent former team in Minnesota, who may have regret in letting Darnold go and sticking with McCarthy. Because let's face it, Darnold's looked so much better in Seattle, and Seattle looked like the far more competent, far more superior team this season. And talking about Darnold playing against a Vikings defense that has looked kind of mediocre over the last few weeks, and you're talking about a Seattle defense that's looked really good for most of this season. Can Minnesota's defense force the turnovers that it used to? Because I think that's the way they're going to have to win this game. We know Darnold's capable of turning over the ball a lot. We know this. But can Darnold refrain from doing so? JSN and Justin Jefferson, two monster receivers, as we've seen this year. JSN's been outstanding, and we've seen this year with Justin Jefferson. He's only been 7th in the league in receiving yards. He's slacking this year, clearly slacking. But all kidding aside, big game for Seattle, and Minnesota have any hope for making the playoffs. Winning this game is probably a prerequisite. Bills, Steelers, showdown. Allen versus maybe a returning Aaron Rodgers. I hope he's returning. And is Josh Allen all right after what he suffered and what he went through last week? Because the horrible beating that he took from the Texans, the good news is you won't have to see two monsters in terms of their pass rush. The bad news is, in Houston, the bad news is you might have to see two monsters in their pass rush in the form of Pittsburgh. TJ Watt against Deion Dawkins. That's a matchup I am most looking forward to. Alex Highsmith, Spencer Brown, if Highsmith is playing. That's a matchup I'm most looking forward to. Can the Steelers' pass rush do anything close to what the Texans' pass rush did when it came to getting at Josh Allen? And we know Pittsburgh lives off turnovers defensively. Can they force anywhere near enough of them to get their offense good field possession and make things happen there? Josh Allen's been very prone to turn over the ball. We've seen this a few times. Can this happen in this game here as well? Aaron Rodgers, does he play? And if so, how does he do against a Bills defense that can be had and can be run on? That means you, Jaylen Warren, if you're playing, and Kenneth Gainwell, if you're not. Big game between these two teams who need the wins to stay around in the playoff race. Let's get to the Wilmington, Delaware playoff tier. Unfortunately, there's no rivalry game all that close to Delaware, unless you want to count Virginia versus Virginia Tech in this situation. But let's get to the Wilmington, Delaware playoff tier. Tampa Bay, sound alarms. One too many injuries. Baker Mayfield with his shoulder was in a sling for a lot of the second half of this beatdown. Let's face it, he didn't have to play in the second half because that game was over at halftime. And now we're talking about a situation where Baker can miss some time. If he does, sound every alarm in the Tampa Bay County. It's not looking good if Baker has to miss some time. Teddy Bridgewater, I think, can be serviceable for a week or two, depending on the right opponent. Arizona probably is one of those. But if you're going to miss the Carolina game, for example, or one of the Carolina games, that's not great. I don't love those chances there, even with Bryce Young's ability to self-destruct. Kansas City, Battle Line Trophy. I got to put respect on this trophy's name here. I really do. Between Arkansas versus Missouri, I got to put some respect on its name. I didn't realize this was a thing. Turns out it is. I'm actually kind of glad that it is. And these two schools play each other, and this is their rivalry game at the end of seasons. I'm good with this. I think this is a really cool look between these two schools to play and use their states. And the trophy's 180 pounds, by the way. I have to look this up. It's very good to see that. I'll get to the Chiefs more so when it comes to the game of interest with the Cowboys. That's coming up. But they did save their season very much so against the Colts last week. And a gotta-have a situation down 2 scores late. Very impressive by Kansas City to do that. But yeah, the Battle Line Trophy, you got to put respect on this game. And you got to be able to lift. And basically, can you bench press this trophy? If you can, you got some strength to you. LA Chargers, Victory Bell. USC, UCLA. And they do one of the things I really love when it comes to some teams and some schools. They don't wear their road jerseys when they play each other. I love that. I think that's a really cool thing. I think a lot of schools should do this whenever they play schools and rivals, especially the rivals, with contrasting colors, a contrasting color scheme. Where, like, say, like, one wears like a light blue and a dark red, or vice versa, or very distinguishable colors, for example. I love that. Like, for example, Penn State plays Rutgers. If Penn State wore their blue or Rutgers wore their red, I'd be okay with it. I think that'd be pretty cool, honestly. I think that would work out pretty well. Like, schools like that, where we can contrast your colors. Like, Georgia, for example, wears their red. Georgia Tech can wear gold. I think we can run with this. I'd be perfectly okay with it. I think that'd be totally dope. So I love that UCLA and USC do this. I really do. And though neither team's particularly great, USC is at least good. And UCLA has shown themselves to have a pulse at different points this season. They shouldn't win this game against the Trojans, but they've shown themselves to have a pulse. As for the Chargers, they still have a pulse, even though the injuries to the offensive line. Can Justin Herbert avoid doomsday effectively, which would be most defensive lines against him? Buffalo, adding more cooks. Yesterday, they added Brandon Cooks. They ended up signing him. We'll see if they can help out that receiving core in any way, shape, form, and fashion. Brandon Cooks' like peak of powers days are kind of done, but he should at least do something, anything to help out their receiving core. They need it in the worst way possible. Buffalo's got a crucial game, as I just mentioned, with the Steelers coming up, and it's a game that both teams absolutely have to have and got to get done. If they can't, that might be a problem for the Bills. Their division hopes are basically dead, but their wildcard hopes need this game and need this game in the worst way possible. The team that just beat them, Houston, stabilized without Stroud. Their defense absolutely carried them and absolutely kept them in this race and kept them in it as long as they could. And now CJ Stroud might be back. Big game stuff by Houston's really good, ridiculously great defense. Will Anderson might be an All-Pro this year, and Danielle Hunter's not that far off from him. That's impressive. You have Kwame Lassiter and Derek Stingley Jr., the best cornerback duo in the game right now. They have been incredibly impressive. They have really held it together with one arm tied behind their back, and that arm being their offense. Please fix that offensive line next season. If you do, then Houston can become a real contender. They've got a real shot to do a lot of things with making the playoffs, but they're going to have to win the game that's upcoming. I will talk about it in a little bit. San Francisco, MVP for CMC. We got to start talking about Christian McCaffrey in the MVP race because he has looked really impressive all the way through and has been the one constant that the Niners have had this season as there have been injuries around him. It's been kind of a monkey's paw type of thing going on for CMC. Yeah, he's healthy, but nobody else is for San Francisco. It's kind of a lot of the reverse from last year, right? Where almost all the Niners were healthy and CMC was not. And now there's rumors that Brandon Ayuk could be gone after this year. That's not great because he has been almost a complete disaster since the contract he signed. It's not great. It's not a great look for a San Francisco team that's had all these injuries. Still, the Niners are a good team, and it goes to show how great of a coaching job Kyle Shanahan's done. Despite all the injuries, and despite how bad Brock Purdy, he was awful on Monday night. Despite all of that, having Kittle and McCaffrey and whatever else is left in the Niners, they're still able to make it work, and they still look like they could make the playoffs. That's great work by Kyle Shanahan, and that to me is Coach of the Year worthy material. Baltimore, finally in first. The Ravens have come back from the dead, and they are wreaking havoc on everyone else in different ways. Now, this past week was not the beating that we expected. We expected the Ravens to absolutely wipe the Jets off the face of the earth. They didn't really do that. And they kind of sort of didn't have to because the Jets didn't do anywhere near enough to get the job done. Okay, fine. Derrick Henry was kind of held in check by the Jets defense. Good. Lamar was to an extent also good. But the Ravens found a way to get this done and found a way to win by double figures anyway. Good work on Baltimore's part. The next step, obviously, we're playing a Bengals team that has nothing to lose at this point, and we're going to get a couple other guys back in Burrow and Chase minimum. They could get Higgins back too. That could make for a very fun Thanksgiving night when we're all completely full on our various meals for Turkey Day. And Green Bay, rivalry week. For the state of Wisconsin, that's effectively what this is because we're talking Packers-Lions. Tomorrow, I will talk about the game, obviously. And we already mentioned the battle for the axe between Minnesota and Wisconsin. I already talked about that a little bit as well. And for Green Bay, Packers-wise, this is really showing off that defense. That defense has played really well the last few weeks. They are getting the job done in big doses over the last few games. That's a good look to see. when it comes to this Packer defense, the question is this. Can they do to Detroit once again what they did in week 1? Where they clamped up the Lions and Jared Goff had nowhere to go and no chance to move. Can they clamp up the Lions like they did in week 1? If so, the Packers are still going to have a real shot at winning the NFC North. If not, then Detroit has another shot at the division as well. But we're going to get to that later on in games of interest. Let's get to the games of interest in this tier, though, and we're going to Texas for both of them. Well, the two Texas teams. Chiefs, Cowboys, two teams that absolutely saved their seasons last week with big wins. The Chiefs against the Colts, more on them in a sec, and the Cowboys obviously against the Eagles. Two monster save jobs, and both of them down by multiple scores. Dallas by 3, Kansas City by 2, and they both came back, and they both were able to handle it. This is a vital game for both these teams, and a vital game for their squads in these playoff races. Neither team's winning their divisions, probably. I won't assume it when it comes to the Chiefs. But when it comes to the Cowboys, probably done. I don't think they're catching the Eagles. But they do need this game in the worst way to make the playoffs. As I said in the write-up for the rivalry recap yesterday, said that a few times fast, the Cowboys probably need to win 4 of 6 to get in, and maybe 9-7-1 doesn't get the job done in the NFC this year. That may also be true. For Kansas City, they're kind of in a similar spot in this regard, where they go 7-1 down, or 6-1 down the stretch. They probably get in, and we'll see where they land. But that's effectively where both these teams are. A vital game that both teams need to win horribly. And I think it may be the most watched game in NFL history. I think 50 million people are going to watch this game. I really do. Texans, Colts. If Houston's going to have any shot at winning this division, or for that matter, Jacksonville, keeping the Jaguars alive for it, you got to win this game. The Colts cannot win this game if you want any shot of winning the AFC South. Indianapolis, after what happened last week, is probably going to be angry, and they should be. They blew that game last week. It was not a good look for a Colts team that has had smooth sailing and minimal adversity for the majority of this year. And for Houston, they have been battle-tested. They have fought their way back, and they've fought their way over 500. Good work on the Texans' part. The obvious matchup is simple. Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter versus that Colts offensive line. Can Indy's offense, their O-line, can they keep Daniel Jones at bay? Can they keep Daniel Jones upright? That's a big one. Jonathan Taylor, who got clamped up by the Chiefs last week, and they basically said, okay, I dare you, Daniel Jones, to beat us. He could not. Indianapolis went 3-and-out on the last 2 possessions in Kansas City. Will that trend continue against a really good Houston defense? Will C.J. Stroud be healthy enough to play in this game against the Colts defense? Monster game in the AFC South between these two teams. And let's get to the New York City title tier. Chicago, land of Lincoln. Yes, Northwestern and Illinois will be playing for that trophy. And in theory, Illinois should win this game. They usually do. But what happens if they don't? What happens if Northwestern gets this done? We will see. We will see about that. And it should be a pretty fun game between these two schools. Anyway, when it comes to the Bears, they've earned their way into the title tier. I'm very impressed with what Chicago's done. They're very good in close games. They have proven themselves to be, if the game is close, they'll find a way. They'll figure it out. And they did last week with their defense, more so, at the very end of games, making a critical stop against the Steelers. Good work on their part. Caleb wasn't at his best, and somehow their receivers still dropped passes. DJ Moore did not really last week. He had 2 touchdowns. But can Chicago keep this momentum going in what's been their best season, I'd say, since the Khalil Mack year, the debut year? Detroit, 2,191 days. This isn't about the Lions and the Super Bowl drought that's much longer. This is about the Ohio State drought against Michigan. This is about Michigan has not lost to the Buckeyes in football in this decade. I kid you not. November 30th, 2019. That was my senior day game with Penn State. But this is also the last time that Ohio State beat Michigan, because a few hours before that game, Ohio State nearly hung a 60 piece for the second straight year in the Wolverines. Ever since that time period, they didn't play in 2020. They did play the last 4 years, obviously. Twice in Ann Arbor, twice in Columbus, and Michigan won all 4 times. And that means that the likes of Marvin Harrison and JT Tuimalu and a bunch of other dudes that were really good Buckeyes do not have a pair of gold pants. If you know, you know. Michigan has won the last 4, and Michigan makes it 5. And Ohio State probably doesn't make the Big Ten championship, And because of this, Ohio State's chances of making the playoff kind of decrease. They'll make the playoff, but their chances of hosting a playoff game and getting a bye, that decreases significantly. Big game in the big house. Let's talk about it later on. Also, the Lions and Jahmyr Gibbs were absolutely ridiculous on Sunday, but we're going to get to them more so in the game of interest with the Packers. That's a main event game. I got to talk about that. Anyway, Philadelphia, Bad Sports Sunday. This isn't just about the Eagles, who, yes, the Eagles choked away a 21-point lead to the Cowboys, and Dallas players absolutely kept the receipt of the Eagles, the kids in the Philly area beating up the Cowboys players' faces like on the punching bags. That was fun to watch. That was funny. But obviously, there was a good counter to this by the Cowboys. I love that the Cowboys social media team caught this and had the receipt. Hope you saw that video. Anyway, this was bad for the Eagles because of, once again, they are incapable of playing a complete game. They have shown themselves to be. The first half, they did no wrong. They were great. They played as well as they possibly could. They were very solid on offense, where they were running the ball with ease, and they were getting the ball to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith making great catches. And everything was going smooth. The defense forced turnovers. Everything was cool. And then the second half happens, and none of this happened. It was a disastrous second half. The only redeemable thing the Eagles did was they stopped Dallas on a goal line stand, where Dallas could have had to lead even sooner. It was a really bad second half. And I kind of blame the Eagles for their bad juju, basically leading to the Philadelphia Union losing to NYCFC 1-0 in the playoffs. Basically meaning the Supporters' Shield winners that the Union are go out with only one playoff round win. It's not great. It was a bad sports Sunday for Philly teams in this area. It was not a great look either way. I will talk about the Eagles more on later on, obviously. Indianapolis, Old Oaken Bucket. This game should be a mop-up situation. I think Indiana's going to wipe the floor with Purdue and then basically put their whatever's left of them in said Old Oaken Bucket and take it home with them. And to Wilmington. Indiana's on a collision course with the Buckeyes for the Big Ten Championship, and a home game basically in Indianapolis is what this is going to be if they were to get it. And Fernando Mendoza is probably dead set on winning the Heisman coming up in a few weeks. I think we've pretty much established that it's his trophy to lose at this point with the way he played, especially the Penn State end game. No, actually, I'm not upset by that. I'm just stunned that they were able to make that happen. I can't even be mad at it. Anyway, well, for the Colts, this was a bit of a surprising loss in the sense of they don't normally lose this game. They don't normally lose games like this. They're usually so well coached and sturdy and stable and able to get this done, and yet they found a way to lose. And that's a real shocker. Maybe it says more about the Chiefs and the way that they were able to stay resilient and win these kind of big games. But it's just surprising that it happened this way, and surprising that they weren't able to close that deal against the Chiefs. They have a chance to obviously respond against Houston. We'll see if they do. New England, path to bye. Their schedule is so weak. I've called them schedule merchants for weeks now, and I want to see somebody stop me when I stop telling the truth. Yes, they do have a win against Buffalo. Yes, they have a win against Tampa. But as we see, Tampa's mediocre, and Buffalo is fading fast. And they don't even have the most impressive win by anybody in the division against the Bills this year. They don't even have that to their name. Miami's win was way better than New England's was. And in the sense, yes, New England sees them again, but against a seasoned opponent, I still don't trust this team. New England barely got out of Cincinnati alive. And this is with no Chase, no Higgins, and no Burrow. They barely got out of Cincinnati. And it's not great to me. They scream one and done. They really do. But New England's got a real path to the bye week. They're going to have to win probably 3 of their next 5, of the last 5 they have left on their schedule. They've got the Giants. Okay, cool. They should mop the Giants up. I don't see any reason why they won't. But then after that, they're going to be tested. They're going to be tested with the likes of Baltimore and Buffalo in the following 2 weeks. 2 teams that absolutely need those games. 2 teams that absolutely need to see what they are. And then by the time you get to the Jets and Dolphins at the end of their season, okay, we'll see. We don't know what the Jets and Dolphins... Well, we don't know what the Dolphins will be. We know what the Jets are. But we will see. We will see what goes on there. I still think New England's schedule merchants, but New England's got a bye that they are lining up for as long as they don't mess it up. We'll see what they do. Seattle, the Cascade Clash. Yeah, this showdown is going to be quite nice, I would say, between a good Washington team and a very good Oregon team. Or Oregon has an outside chance at winning the Big Ten. All they need for that to happen is a little bit of help from those in Michigan to get that job done. If so, then they can actually get this done and win that division, and win the conference again, as they would play Indiana presumably for the Big Ten championship. And well, again, it will be a home game for the Hoosiers. In the meantime, between time, when it comes to the Seahawks, a good, decent win against a bad Tennessee team. They did what they needed to do. It wasn't spectacular, except for JSN, but it was what was necessary. It was what was needed to get the win. Good. Sometimes that's needed. But JSN, his assault towards the receiving records is very impressive. Can he get to 2K? I kind of want to see if he does. That would be quite nice. LA Rams, 30-2. No, this is not my prediction for UCLA versus USC. No, instead, this is the totals of touchdowns to NOs that Matt Stafford has thrown this year. Incredible work by Stafford, who might actually win MVP this year. I can't blame him. I can't blame anyone if he does win it, because this is MVP-worthy stuff that he has here. And Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua have obviously helped in this endeavor, and Kyron Williams obviously helping keep the offense balanced. It's wild to me that the Rams don't have the 1 seed locked up already, because their 2 losses are that crucial and excruciating. They had no business losing to the Eagles. They blew that lead. And in the Niners game, they just couldn't win it late. And if they don't get the 1 seed, those are your 2 reasons why. And it really sucks for them. But the Rams have been scorching hot otherwise, and they've dominated pretty much everyone else in front of them. We'll see if the Rams can keep this going, and obviously if they went out, they're the 1 seed, but we'll see if they can keep this going and handle their business, and Stafford can keep up this absurd pace that he's on right now. And Denver, follow that up. Follow up what you just did last week, well, not last week, but the week prior to Kansas City, where you won the biggest game in maybe a decade in the Mile High City. This was incredibly impressive to see them be as resilient as they were. Can Denver hold it together and keep this thing going and keep up this momentum? Can an offense be kind of good as after weeks and weeks of being kind of mid? Can you be kind of good? And can you replace the running game solution that was with J.K. Dobbins, who was really good, and unfortunately he's out for the year again, more than likely? Can you get the ball to Troy Franklin and RJ Hampton and company? Can they figure it out is the real question here on offense. I trust this defense, but can you figure it out on offense? I trust it even without Alex Singleton, by the way. Can PS2 get back soon? We'll need to see that as well. And now let's get to the title tier games of interest. Packers, Lions. I've kind of teased I was going to talk about this for a while now, and it's time to talk about it. A monster game and the monster rematch from week 1, where in week 1, the Lions got dominated in every way, shape, form, and fashion. The Packers defense was relentless when it came to getting at Jared Goff. They did not stop until the game was over. There were no answers for Jahmyr Gibbs, there was nothing Jahmyr Gibbs could do. There was nothing David Montgomery could do. There was nothing Laporta was decent, but now Laporta's out for the year. Like, no good came from this when it came to the Lions. Like, they couldn't do anything in Green Bay. But now they're going to have to do something in Detroit against a Packer team whose defense is starting to get their act together again. That's impressive. That's good. But can we see the Lions defense do their part against a kind of mediocre Packer offense? Because they won last week based off their defense being really good against Agent 9 or whatever J.J. McCarthy calls himself. Big game in Detroit tomorrow afternoon on Turkey Day. Then we got Black Friday. Eagles, Bears, monster game at the Link. Eagles are going to be wearing all black. They're encouraging a blackout, effectively, for the for their fans to show up in all black, which I think is going to be kind of cool. Like, it could be a pretty good scene and vibe. Can the fans comply and do such a thing? Monster road game for Caleb Williams, and probably the biggest road game he's had ever. Not just in college, but in the pros, ever, I would say. It's a monster game here for both these teams, as the path to the 2 seed, at minimum, is very clear for the winner. And for the loser, especially if it's Chicago, your division lead ain't safe. I think your division lead is safe if you're the Eagles, as long as Dallas doesn't beat Kansas City tomorrow. And if Kansas City does lose, that if Kansas City does lose tomorrow to Dallas, then yeah, winning this game would probably be kind of important for the Eagles. Monster game for both these teams on Black Friday, and I want to know if the Eagles can play a complete game. They've only really played one this year, to be honest. Against the Giants the second time, and that's after they took a beating the first time. Can they play a complete game? That is the real question here. And there you have it. That's the power rankings this week. With some college football flair to it. Hopefully everyone enjoys their Thanksgiving and has their best and favorite Thanksgiving dishes. Mine personally, I've made this clear a few times. Give me fried chicken or ham over turkey. Turkey's overrated. Mac and cheese is the star of the show, by the way, especially if it's baked. Stuffing, apple pie, and that's really like the core stuff for me for Thanksgiving, and yams. And yams would be the fifth part. Like that's like the starting five, if you will, for me. And the sixth lineman, if you will, would be the ham. But that's the point of it. That's for me for Thanksgiving. That's my preferences. What are yours? Post them below. The Sports Lounge will be the home of the picks. You will see a link below this video when I make them either tonight or tomorrow. Obviously, I got to make them earlier because the 12:30 game in Detroit. As for the Railway Path, you already know it's Packers and Lions. You're going to be the first stop of my next train of thought.